I'm here today with Andrew of Comeback Kid to talk about Heavy Steps, out January 21st on Nuclear Blast. How's it going with you?
Chilling, man. You're, just kind of getting my day started here. How about you?
Well, I'm sitting here talking to you, so it can't get much better than this.
Hell yeah.
So let's start off by talking about this record and what kind of goals did you guys have as a band coming into Heavy Steps, or did you have goals coming into Heavy Steps of what you wanted the sound to be?
Yeah, we definitely had goals. I think on this one we've always desired maybe like a bit of a heavier, I guess, like guitar tone, and we just kind of wanted like a bigger sonic sound in general. So we were focusing on that when we were getting like tones and musically, I wouldn't say that we were going heavier. I think that we always try to have a variety of different types of songs on every Comeback Kid record. Some stuff's going to be like ass beater, like straight up hardcore stuff, and then some stuff's going to be groovy, and some stuff's going to be like really melodic, anthemic type stuff, and maybe we'll, there'll be yeah, so there is some variety, and there's a few different songwriters in the band, so, but I think as far as just like the mix wise and the way that we were actually recording it, we definitely were looking for a little bit of a bigger sound in the mix. So that's why we went to Will Putney, who mixed it as well. So
well, you guys are always in good hands with Will Putney. So how was the path for you in terms of the creative process? Do you guys have a way that you approach every single record creatively, or does each album offer you opportunities to kind of deviate a little bit from that beaten path?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually kind of the same way. I mean, this record, because we don't live in the same city as each other, like I'm in Toronto and Winnipeg, the other guys are in Winnipeg and Vancouver, which is like across Canada. But so, usually it just kind of works out. We'll send each other initial ideas, and then when that'll be online or whatever. And then when we can actually get in the room, that's when the real creative juices start flowing. But before that, we can do a lot of prep by sending ideas back and forth. I'll be even in this room like screaming, or just like trying out some like vocal ideas, even without like lyrics sometimes, just trying to get some melodies and cadences and rhythms going and stuff. So there's a lot of like a little bit more prep before we actually get in the room and jam now. I think we all want to be the best that we can be for each other, Mm-hmm. So I think that we're trying to come in prepared a little bit more than previously. And it's just a lot of like rewriting until we get it right.
What part of the album structure it feels for you to be within the creative process? Where do you start looking at the songs that you have and the way you want them to come together in order for the record to have more of a sense of being an album and not just like a collection of tracks? Or do you even worry about it?
Well, actually on this record we wrote just a bunch of tracks. It's really hard like we're never gonna like, I wish we could, but we're never gonna be the band that's like, okay, we're gonna write like this direction right now for this full length, because it's always like, dude, my songwriting's really, really different than say our guitar player Jeremy's songwriting, or Stu, the other guitar player's songwriting, and we'll all kind of like bring that to the table. And I just can't really see us really, if we're gonna mix up like who's writing the song, like you can't really predict what someone else is gonna bring to the table. But what you can do is when we get a mountain of songs, you can edit. It's always about editing in, and it's like I always call it like the funnel going in, and like there's a lot of stuff that might be floating around before it actually gets through that small little,
Do some of those tracks that don't make it down the funnel eventually perhaps get used down the line, or you guys completely put them in the trash?
Definitely. No, definitely. We got a lot of stuff in our arsenal now. So we've been working on tracks for a long time.
Is there something that stands out on this record that you feel like fans are going to immediately gravitate to?
We just try to we're not trying to veer too far from the patent Comeback Kid sound. We want to do that. I just think that we're just doing it, and we're doing it a little bit smarter. You know, I listened back to previous Comeback Kid records, and I think we have a lot of stuff that I'm proud of. And we have some missteps as well. So it's just about, you know, trying to, it's honestly, man, yes, we like overthink it and stuff, but at the end of the day, we're not like trying to be too precious about it, you know, like we're just playing music and having fun. And this is a vehicle for us to travel the world and play music. And that's kind of what we want to do. And it's like, not really, there's no like mastermind idea, I don't think.
Not overanalyzing it.
Maybe that we are overthinking it, but maybe not like, well, I say that now, but this is like 8 months after the record was done. Like, find me in the studio, like pulling my hair out for 2 months, 8 months, you know, for a while. Like, then we'll see who's kind of going crazy and overanalyzing. So
you mentioned the guitar sound, and that's something that I noticed on this record. I felt like you guys created two guitar avenues on this album. There was, on one hand, you had this penetrating guitar-driven sound that really cut deep into the tracks. And on the other side, I felt like you guys created this more chunky, more robust guitar sound that allow you to go sometimes with both on the same tracks, or just change from one to the other. Do you see it that way, or you see it differently?
Yeah, I know that there's the one on the right and left, but actually I'm glad you asked, because we shot out a few different guitar amp options when we were mixing. So it's called reamping. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you can record tracks, which we did spend time in the studio getting guitar tones, but then at the end of the day, we didn't end up using those, too many of those at least. And then what happens is mixing is he'll play that track and then it'll go through the amp again, and then they mic it. So we used, there was this company called Rev Amps, and they're actually from Winnipeg, Manitoba, where we're originally from. So that's why I say shout out to Rev. And we, out of like all the amps that we shot out, we ended up using a Rev and Friedman mix. So Friedman on one side and Rev head on the other side. And that would be like the bass, like the main guitar tone, you know, and then there's definitely like little like elements of maybe some of the tones we got in the studio flying around here and there. It's not always like it's always not always as like or like one dimensional anymore. It's like not like, but there's gonna be, you know, a couple little things here and there.
It makes the sound overall feel a little bit richer. You know what I mean? It gives more texture to the sound.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, as much as we can do that as possible, like, you know, especially if there's like a, you know, some more open stringy stuff that you want to hear the different strings, or actually the picking of things. We have a new song that we have a video for, actually, that's coming out Friday. I don't know when this is out, but Friday the 21st. And we actually even like mic'd up. I've just been like watching this video that we've been putting together for it. The song's called Face the Fire, but we actually mic'd up the picking in the room, so you'd hear that picking, you know.
Yeah.
We actually did that, and like would put the mic from the room in there as well. So like just like fun little tricks, like things that like at first when someone mentions it, you're like, I don't know, and then wow, that was a cool idea, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I think it gives more life to the record, and allows the album to kind of stand on its own and not just like be another Comeback Kid record.
Totally, man. Well, this isn't just a comeback, it's our best record. No, like everyone says.
Everybody says that.
Well, fuck, I'd rather listen to this than anything else of ours right now. So to me, it's the best. I know it's cliche, but
that's all that matters. At what point in the process do you guys start looking at the lyrics for the tracks? Do you have a little bit of a notebook, or do you look at each album specifically?
If I start, sometimes I'll have a little bit of a notion of what I want to be said right away, but a lot of times, to be honest, it comes at the very end, and the lyrics is definitely the hardest part for me. It'll be something that kind of drags on for a little while until the very bitter moment, and that's where the editing really comes into play, because it'll be like piles and piles and piles of lyrics, and then trying to consolidate that and try to actually get out what you're trying to say in an articulate way. So
does that have an impact on how you approach the tracks vocally?
As far as recording, yes and no. I mean, I think that this record, you know, I tried to be as I guess as adventurous vocal wise as I could be with a Comeback Kid record. You know, we're not trying to write a alternative record or like trying to get like we understand our lane. We're keeping in that, but we had a lot of fun with vocal layers and just, you know, like a lot of times it'll be like, okay, let's sometimes I'll go part by part and I'll build the whole layers, like all the harmonies, all the layers in like the first verse, and then we'll move to the chorus. Sometimes I'll just do one layer all the way across and then I'll add it like that. So I guess it does sometimes veer like how we record it. It also depends on like where, like who I'm tracking with, what I'm doing, but I just like to get as much content as I can, track, and then maybe comp it after, and then like go back and like see, okay, what do we do? But I try to get enough takes while I have the energy to track it. Like, so I don't have to go back and retrack after I'm like editing it, you know.
Did that make this album more challenging for you vocally or no?
This album was super challenging vocally. Yeah, I probably spent like 70 hours in the booth actually tracking.
Wow.
I think we counted. Yeah. So
that is a lot of time.
But that's also editing too, you know. There's because I would edit my vocals as I would go on this one. I'd have like the Pro Tools screen in my room, and then the engineer in the other room, and then I would actually do the parts, and then we'd edit together, and then we'd move on to the next thing. So that's why it did take a really long time. Probably shouldn't have done it like that, but we'll see. It worked. We were just being really careful.
Once again, you're overthinking, not overanalyzing it.
It's funny when in retrospect, when you listen back to it, it's like it simplifies it so much. But while it's happening, I'm like the Zach Galifianakis character in like in The Hangover, where he has all like the numbers here.
Yeah, everything is just floating around your face, and you can see all of it.
Yeah,
I can totally see that. Is there somebody that you would love to collaborate? I know you guys had some collaborations on this record, some impressive collaborations on this record. Is there somebody out there that you haven't collaborated with that you would love to?
Damn, there's tons of people. It's hard to say. You know, I'm not really dying to like collaborate with anyone right now. I would love to actually do like Will Putney mixed our record, but we weren't actually in the studio with him. So I'd actually like to do a record with him. You know who I'd like to collaborate with is Brian McTurnan, and he's a producer out of Baltimore. He's done everything from Saves the Day to Turnstile, Circus Revive. He's the singer of a band called Be Well. He used to sing in a band called Battery. Monine, who's a Canadian band he'd worked with, and I saw a really cool documentary with him do it. Like, that's a cool producer. I'd love to Strike Anywhere he does. But that's a producer that I think would be really fun to work with. We've always like kind of chatted about it, but never panned through yet because the pandemic really, I think I met him and then the pandemic happened.
So things didn't materialize.
We're in Canada, so it's kind of harder for these guys to come up here.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto as well, so I know exactly how. I know.
Oh, you're in Toronto.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto, so we're in the same city. We could have done this at a Tim Hortons, you know.
Why not? Where are you at?
I'm in Vaughan.
Oh, damn. Yeah, nice. I'm at like Spadina Station-ish.
Oh, all right. So you're downtown. You're a downtown boy. And this takes me to my last question. I was going to ask you, what's the most hardcore thing about being from Winnipeg? But considering that you live in Toronto now, I kind of have to put you on the spot.
Well, I'm soft now that I'm in Toronto because I'm not used to. The most hard thing is the cold, and that's why I had to move out because I'm not fucking with that like minus 45 shit anymore. And that's Celsius for the Americans that listen to this. This is like not Fahrenheit. This is cold.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you that, but now I got to ask you, which city is more hardcore, Toronto or Winnipeg?
Winnipeg. Well, I don't know. I wasn't in Toronto when I was growing up as a teenager. So all I know is like the Royal Albert in Winnipeg, which was like our CBGBs. We'd have the Sunday afternoon matinees and punk bands with hardcore bands with metal bands and just different like all kinds of different people. So, you know, representing for that. But I think that Toronto had some, you know, if I was from Toronto, I'd probably think Toronto, but Winnipeg, we were just so secluded. It's like, it's so far from everything. So we just kind of had to build it as we went, you know?
That's one of the things when you think about Canadian cities or metal scene in general, you think about Montreal. Vancouver has a healthy metal scene. Toronto, to a certain extent. Winnipeg doesn't follow in the conversation, but you guys are definitely carrying the Winnipeg flag.
Maybe you just didn't notice, dude. There's a lot of cool bands from Winnipeg. Propagandy from there.
Maybe I need to get deeper into
I
the
Spy.
Winnipeg metal scene.
Withdrawal, yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, you guys are definitely carrying the flag for Winnipeg, so
we're trying to, but we're not really there. But Jeremy's there.
You still have your roots there, so that's still important. You still have your roots there, so
yeah.
You're still a Winnipeg boy, regardless if you live in Toronto or not.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like we had a snowstorm for you, probably that was nothing compared to what you have experienced before.
Dude, we just got a Winnipeg Free Press article. I'm gonna tell my mom to pick it up today. So yeah, nice new newspaper article for the new record.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for your time today, man. It was an absolute pleasure.
Appreciate it.
All the best to you and the guys. Much success with the record, and I'll see you around at a show.
Awesome, man. Thanks, so.
Take care.